You're watching The HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler at your mom's house.
Welcome back to The HoneyDew, y'all. We're over here at Studio Jeans, doing it at your mom's house. I'm Ryan Sickler. Ryan Sickler on social media, ryansickler.com. Want to hit you with some dates real quick. This is coming up, man. June 13th through the 15th. I'm with Segura in Richmond, Maryland, and Atlantic City. June 27th through the 30th with Tommy Buns in Tulsa, Wichita, and Kansas City. And then August 1st through the 3rd, I'm at the House of Comedy in Minnesota. I'm in Baltimore in September. And again, as I say every week, thank you very much for all the support. Please make sure you're subscribed. Get over at that Your Mom's House YouTube page. Subscribe there as well. The website is thehoneydewpodcast.com. That's where you get the merch. That's where you follow all the social media links. It's where you can email me and all that. And as I say every week as well, if you're new to the show, what we're doing here is highlighting the lowlights, and these are the stories behind the storytellers. And today, my guest, I'm very excited to have, first time here on The HoneyDew, Dan St. Germain.
It's good to be here. I should talk to you and not into the camera, right? That's, I'm already.
Fuck you up,
I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Keep your head on a swivel, bro.
I feel like I'm on the Young Turks. I like the highlights of the lowlight. That's fucking. That's like a great. I can curse, right?
Yes.
I don't know why. Now I think I can't curse because it's cameras.
I ask once in a while too.
But that sounds like that's like a great country lyric. It's like a Chris Stapleton album.
You kind of look like you could definitely be Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, I'm actually a thinner Chris Stapleton because usually I get compared to like fat guys. I love being like, you kind of look like Jim Morrison because like obese guys, 600-pound guy. Because like if I look like Jim Morrison, then it's obtainable for them to be Jim Morrison. You know, like nobody's attractive as like Jim Morrison.
More about them.
Everybody else like, oh, fatter Galifianakis. Kurt Metzger once called me Snacks Galifianakis.
That's great. Well, before we get into any of your stories here today, will you please feel free promote whatever you'd like?
Oh,
Plug
already?
Away,
well, this
man.
is coming
Plug
out
away,
in June,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to be at the Punchline in San Francisco in June, on June the 19th through the 22nd. It's the same weekend as Clusterfest, which I'm not a part of. So see me if you're not seeing every other act in town. And then that June 15th, I'll be in Poughkeepsie. I'll be in New York doing dates. August, I'm going on a Southern tour. July, I'm doing some New York date in Schenectady. And then September, I'll be in Vermont doing a club, the Vermont Comedy Club, which I wanted to
What's your
do for a
website
while.
where all that
DanStGermain.net. I don't know why.
You aggressively got up.
I don't know why I keep looking. I don't know where to look.
How about your podcast? Look
Oh,
at me.
shit.
Oh, that's your camera
that's
right there.
Oh, man, I've been looking at your
That's our
camera.
wide right
Total
there.
effing. I've been
That's
looking at the
me
wide.
right there. You've been
Total
looking
effing
straight
marks
there. There you
on
go.
All Things Comedy Network. It's a hoot. And my album is No Real Winners Here on 800-Pound Gorilla Records. And the show that I wrote for Alternatino, I think, is coming out this month, if it's June. So there you go. There's all the plugs. I think that's all of them.
Boom.
Knocked out.
Well done. Out of the way. Now everybody knows where to find you after they sit back and listen to you.
me.
So I was saying to you guys off mic before we start. So I ask everybody before they come on, just give me a log line of what you want to talk about. Like
Right.
my parents' divorce or a car accident or a near death or whatever. And the first line on the email you sent me says, second trip to rehab. Skipping over the first trip.
Like, that
and
was
the
the safer
addiction.
because my parents did get divorced in the past 2 years, which I don't want to talk. I'll tell one thing I won't tell specifics about. But I went to my mom's house recently to say hi.
Your mom's house.
And my mom's house right here. Tom Segura is my mom. And I got there and the living room, because we had this picture when we were a kid, but it's a woman. Why am I looking at the wide? I'm should be looking at you. I don't know why I keep looking here.
Right there.
It's a woman giving birth, and she's got a clamp on her husband's penis. So every labor pain she presses on the pump, so he feels the same amount of pain. And I was like, well, Mom, if you're single, you may not want this in the living room.
Yeah,
that may not be the best way to entice a new guy around. And have a fucking scene from Saw as the first thing you witness. You know, it's rough. But yeah, second trip to rehab, it was a safer bet.
So can we go back to addiction? What got you even into rehab in the first place?
I mean, I've never been able to handle my shit, and I like doing it.
What is your shit? What do you like doing?
Dude,
and what age did we start?
I mean, I think I got drunk in middle school, but I think the same thing that all high schoolers did is that we stole from our parents' liquor cabinets, replaced it with water, and then it wasn't like I would drink in the morning sometimes. I wasn't drinking every day, but when I did, it was a disaster. Piss myself or vomit everywhere, pass out at the back of the school,
Wait,
what? Yeah, I mean,
you would go to school fucked up?
I did, yeah. I mean, I was cool on weed for the second half of my high school, the last months when I already knew I was in college.
See, I didn't start smoking until I was 21. I got a little late on the weed.
See, now I can't smoke weed, but I used to be able to smoke no problem, and now it just fucks with me. But yeah, so I just couldn't deal with it. I don't think. I think
you actually passed out in the back of the school.
Yeah, kind of. I at least slept for a little bit.
And that was a daily thing for you in high school?
No, that was just once. I remember I was the lead of the school play, and I got suspended, and I still...
For what?
For getting passed out in the back of the school.
Yeah, it might hurt your chances of remaining in the lead.
Yeah, I could have gotten away with it, too, but I was close. But, again, it was... it was shit like that, and...
But was it just drinking, or did drinking lead to...
Drinking definitely led to other shit.
Things?
I mean, I definitely did experiment with other drugs. I think, every time I've drank since then, I immediately want to buy cocaine.
Right away.
Those things they go right together for me. It's just, it's like going to a Jimmy Buffett concert without sandals, man. You can't do it.
You just can't do it.
It's just, you feel like you're a part of the party. Although it's never I'm never in an open shirt, doing lines with models. It's more just did Oswald do it? In the basement of somebody's house.
So at what age?
And food. I mean, everything, dude. Everything.
Yeah, I feel you on food, dude. What age do you realize, all right, this is a problem and you're going to rehab? Or does someone help you realize?
First. Well, my dad, when I was 22, my dad slammed a list of meetings in front of me, and he's like, you should go here.
By 22.
And my dad drinks a decent amount, everybody in my
drink
family
more
drinks.
if you didn't fucking drink all this shit.
Yeah. He doesn't a Hardwicker, but he's a Coors Light guy, one of those dudes who just drinks Coors Light like it's water. But not he never becomes a fucking Eugene O'Neill play. Yeah, so I went to that meeting, and then I would get
what is outpatient?
No. That was a year and a half later. First, I started going to meetings. Outpatient is you can basically have a job, you can be doing this and then go on outpatient. So you can go a couple hours. It depends on what kind of outpatient program you have. A lot of times they recommend outpatient after you do inpatient. And I did outpatient so I could keep my security job and still do comedy.
Okay.
So I'd go to this place. It was Parallax in New York City. What's up, guys? And we would just have group therapy. And, I had a therapist. She was great. I think I fell in love with her for a week, because you're just so insecure and you're just oh, you'll listen to me, and then I thought I kind of had it beat for a while, and then 2.5 years later, went out again, was in and out for a year, and during that year it was one time me and this comic, maybe we'll have him on the show and he'll tell the story. And he we did so much coke one night. And then I think we picked up his drug dealer from the hospital to buy more drugs. We stopped at the ER to pick him up, and we bought more drugs. And that whole weekend was a blur. And I thought he was dead. That comic was dead. That comic is he's a rock star. I won't say who it is, but I remember I asked him, I think recently the best year, I'm so is that the top 5 times you've ever gotten fucked up? He's like, nah. It wasn't even close. But we, Yeah, and then we went to, God, where did we go? I went to Athens, Georgia, and I did start doing stand-up, and I remember I was just, because I had Percocet to try to come down from the coke, and I was just like sweating sheets of water, on
Jesus
stage.
Christ.
And then I was
can't
in
even
Johnson
hear
City,
that.
Tennessee for like 2 days, and at that point I was just drinking, and I don't even know if it was, and I forget, and I was on stage, and this guy, and I thought it was hot shit, because I was this, I'd just done Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. So I'm like, well, I've done one late night set. I'm in, not realizing how this business works at all. And I remember I did this bit that killed on Fallon, but it's a New York joke. And I did this cat guy bit. And a guy dressed as a cat jumped on stage because it was the Blue Plum Festival in Johnson City, Tennessee. And he started jumping on stage and like grinding against me. And I remember the host was an hour late. It was this dude named, I think, X. I don't know, but he would give us like a speech.
I would say that's an alias, not a name.
It was like you give us like a Pacino in any given Sunday speech before. Yeah, and at the end of that weekend, I remember I went upstairs and there was this big fat guy with a mullet who was like running the club, and he counted the money for me, and he's like, "How was it?" And like when you're young and you start headlining rooms, the thing is, even if it's bad, you go, "It was great, man," because you want to do it again, even if it's not. You say it was great, and I just looked at him. I goes, "Honestly, man, it was pretty fucking shitty." and then without missing me, he goes, "Yeah, I figured," and he just gives me his money, and I was like, "This guy's." I kind of loved him after that. I was like, "This guy knows what he's been doing." But yeah, I had, but then I kept drinking that year on and off, and I was having like bleeding ulcers and like shitting blood.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was bad.
You're drinking that much?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I had like 3 bleeding ulcers. And
what is your drink of choice?
I had drunk a lot of whiskey, but I was drinking vodka because you could sneak it anywhere. That's the whole thing about like movie theaters. You can sneak vodka into movie theaters. Nobody gives a shit. Until they realize what's happened. But yeah, so I did that, and I went, and then eventually I totally like destroyed my relationship at the time through my own fucking my own failings, to put it lightly. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to rehab to try to win this person back. And obviously, and thank God, that person was like, no, like she made the right move, but that's how I went to the first rehab, was just I was trying to and then I went to this rehab called Seabrook House in South Jersey, and I was there for a month, and it was right after I remember it was like a week after I did John Oliver's New York stand-up show. So again, I thought I was the shit. I was 260 or 70 pounds. I was like, I was just disgusting looking, and I mean, it was just total selfish, pathetic behavior.
And still the whole time just drinking and drinking? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I was able to it was like one of those things where I just was to kind of drink to get straight,
But are you also, at the time, you're bleeding? Are you going to the doctor at all?
No, I just was like, oh, I'm shitting blood. That's weird. I got to stop eating the spicy food. and then all of a sudden I stopped shitting blood in rehab, and then I got out and I went to what's it, endocrinologist? What's it called? Yeah, or the guy who does the gastroenterologist. Sorry. And then they're like, yeah, you got 3 bleeding ulcers, because they did an exam and shit. So then they gave me and then they kind of fixed that.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy, and then it just kind of went away. I don't know if that was stress too. It could have been stress and the drinking.
So
together.
How long after the first rehab to drinking again?
That was 2.5 years to the second rehab. Outpatient to that, 2.5 years. And then I lasted another...
What happened? What tipped you back over on the other side?
I think look, I wanted to do it. I had experimented. I'd smoked weed beforehand. It was like, again, I remember at the time, weed doesn't work for me anymore. It got me really paranoid. I just thought about death. I remember I couldn't talk to my girlfriend at the time. I just bought her a book of poetry while we were out. So I didn't have to talk. I'm like, this is romantic, so I won't have to do it. Maybe this guy will do all the work for me. And I did that. And then, eventually that shit catches up with you. And I remember it was some bullshit. I got blacklisted for some club because I said some shit on a podcast. And looking back on it now, it was so dumb. The reason, and I remember at the time I called Mark Maron and I was like, this is why I drank. And he goes, "You drank for that fucking club?" You know, like he was like,
Yeah.
couldn't believe it, you know. But at the time, it was like, come on, you got the biggest fucking podcast in the world. This is a big deal for me. But he was actually nice. He took my calls for about a couple weeks there, so that was nice of him. Shout out to Mark. But then I just like I eventually turned into drinking that night at this bar in Williamsburg, and I was off to the races, baby.
And then how long during that before we hit second rehab?
And then I waited a year and a half, and got a new girlfriend, got some cool stuff with the career again. Things were looking great. I remember I just sold a show to Fox, and then like on the plane ride back, I was like, I deserve one now. And then, of course, then for a year I was in and out. And then I got 6 months sober and then went out for a couple days. Then I had 2.5 years and I went out for 5 days. And now I have like 2 years back.
You're back 2 years.
Yeah. So that's been good.
Does addiction run it? You said your dad's a drinker, but does addiction run in your family?
Yeah. Mike Lawrence has a great joke about that. He's like, my family tree has a car wrapped around it. But yeah, I mean, I think it definitely runs on for sure. My mom's side, it definitely runs. So I think it was just kind of like a easy fit. I mean, like, I drink like a normal soda 30 times faster than anybody I'm with. Like, I just need to I have a problem where if I like think something's unfinished, all I can think about is that it's unfinished. It's like a weird compulsion.
And you want to finish it?
Yeah.
I see.
So I think that same thing works with food. I mean, I ate right before I got here. I had a quesadilla and a burrito like before I got here, and I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm going to be holding in farts for a 2-hour fucking podcast. It's probably not even going to be. It's going to be on a wooden chair, so it's not like I can even disguise it with like a pleather couch, that's being filmed. So yeah, I just like I'm like, rah, 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 what can I do to not think of it? And now I have this thing, so I'm like doing it all the time. But the last relapse that I had was much more. I was prescribed a medication. Like, I didn't want to go out, and I was prescribed a medication, and that medication wasn't really right, and that kind of let out. So I was only out for a couple days, and I was like, fuck, this medication's not right. I gotta hard line it back, and I have. So that's been good.
So that medication pushed you off?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was. They prescribed me Klonopin for anxiety attacks, and then
that's the one. A lot of comedians have come on and said that's the one they take when they fly. Mm-hmm. Is that one just? Does it knock you out, or is it just sedate you?
It doesn't. I'm sure
you.
Me personally, it depends. It's different things for different people, man. Because I still am prescribed Xanax right now, which a lot of people would say that means you're not sober. Which I mean, some people. I'm not going to argue with that. But for me, it just was kind of like having a Bud Light. I was like, I feel kind of pretty cool, man, right now, and I feel kind of relaxed. I'm a pretty cool dude.
See, I'm the other way. Weed, I'm fine with weed.
Right.
But any pills, I'm super sensitive. Like, I can't do any of the Percocets, any of the painkillers I can't fuck with. And I took one Xanax one time.
Yeah.
And that thing, it was like a fucking elephant trank, man. It put me down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I told my doctor, he's like, good. I'm like, that's not good. I don't want to sleep through my shit. I wake up, that shit's still there. You know what I mean? I was like, I gave those away.
Yeah. I mean, for me, look, I can't, because I do think, I eventually want to be off all that shit, and I only use it, like in situations where there's a flight or something like that. I want to be off all that shit. But it definitely can make you exhausted and slow you down, and Jesus Christ, so unprofessional, guys.
So what happened on your second trip to rehab?
Second trip to rehab. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's where we went.
I decided to go to this place at Seabrook House in South Jersey. My favorite thing about South Jersey is that it's like real racist to still appropriated black culture. So it's like, I don't want one dating my daughter, son. It's like crazy. It's like this crazy bizarre
Twisted,
combo.
yeah.
But I went there for 30 days.
Now, can I ask you real quick? Did you have an intervention ever, or did you just
No,
decide
I never
to go?
had an intervention. This was like I purely wanted to get my life back on track and wanted to like turn stuff around and luckily I had freelancers insurance which paid for some of it. It didn't pay for all of it. And it was. Yeah, I mean, it was a good, like the thing about like all rehabs is that they're good in the sense that like it stops you for 30 days, but like I was kind of lucky, man. I never picked up heroin. Like fucking heroin drops you, like especially down there, like near Camden and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like, people like high school kids are just like, I'm in it.
That's Baltimore. It's everywhere. And it's not just the city. It's all over.
Yeah.
The suburbs.
Or,
the kids,
or it's like a suburban mom who was like, got prescribed oxys.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden she can't pay for the oxys anymore.
You got to go get the heroin.
So I'm going to go down
yeah.
and get heroin. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very lucky in the sense that I did not have that monkey on my back. I've done Oxycontin before and I guess it never took or whatever. Although I still fantasize about like, I wonder what would happen if I got in a jet ski accident. Then do I get a pass?
It's a jet ski accident.
It's a jet ski accident or a tractor trailer. I think so people feel sorry for me. So I'm allowed to like, and then you're like, yeah, people would feel sorry for me for like 2 days. And then you would be the guy like, hey man, you shit on my waterbed. Like Goodwill only
a waterbed
lasts for so long. So I went there at this place, Seabrook House. There's a lot of crazy stories at that place. I remember the one thing is like, cause I kind of thought I was I kind of thought I was hot shit again. Cause I was like, I just taped something for Comedy Central. Now I'm at Seabrook House. Like, oh, this is a step down. But like first off, they all wanted me to do comedy. And I'm like, I'm not doing comedy
Performing there?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm at a low point right now. And then I remember I asked one of my handlers there, this guy who I painted Easter eggs with on Easter, just me and him in a room. And he's like, oh, I checked out your unsolicited. He's like, I checked out your comedy online. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do you think? He goes, wasn't for me. And I'm like, you're going to tell this to somebody with like fucking 14 days sober? And then he had to like, and it was even more embarrassing because then he had to
schedule for another 30. I'm gonna be staying here for a little bit.
He had to double down and then find a video he liked. And he goes, oh, I like this video. And I knew that was buried at the bottom. So he must have gone through 10 videos of shit he hated to get to that one that he gave the barest of a compliment to.
Couldn't even lie and just say, man, I really dug it, man.
Couldn't do it.
He was dying to tell you he didn't care for your comedy, man.
I really think it wasn't. I don't think it was like a passive aggressive thing either. He just was like, I think people just don't understand.
Just don't
social norms, social etiquette.
So good, dude. That's all right. That is hilarious.
It was crazy. It was a crazy trip, and it's so funny because like everybody like, it's just hard, man. It's a hard thing to kick, and I remember one thing we were like.
Yeah, what's it like?
Well, it's segregated by color. No, it's not by women and men. No, it's men are on one side, women are on another because they don't want to have any. They don't want to have any, which makes sense because they don't want to have like because you're taken away from like the thing that you love the most. So it's like, all right, I'll just replace it with a relationship.
Sure,
I'm gonna fall in love immediately. And I remember the first day, which is so fucked up. This girl was like getting dropped off by her parents, and we're all sitting outside. And then, because there's a lot of debate within, the addiction community whether or not Suboxone, you should be taking Suboxone or not.
What is that?
That's like a heroin supplement.
Oh,
it's
that's
not
the one.
It's like, yeah. There's a lot of debate over.
There's a meme going around and that a friend of mine sent me from Maryland. It says it's a guy taking a nap in his car, and he says, "Don't give me." How do you say it? Suboxone.
Don't give me Suboxone.
Yeah, I'm just taking a nap because everybody looks like they're on fucking heroin. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so people like so like I guess this is a rehab that didn't have Suboxone, and this girl her parents dropped her off there, and she goes like, "They didn't have fucking Suboxone, you lied to me," and ran like away from the car like through a field, and we're all sitting there cheering her, being like, "Yeah, fuck them, they don't understand you. Yeah, fuck them." Like we were all like, "Yeah, Dad doesn't get it."
That poor.
You know, just a bunch of fucking scumbags with the neck tattoos, you know, like cheering their daughter running into the woods.
Oh my God. What other crazy shit do you see there?
Well, one thing that they did was they made us go into a room and listen to James Taylor's Fire and Rain until we cried. That was
That's real?
Yeah, it was real. That was so crazy. Like,
how many times through were you?
Well, it was like a bunch. It wasn't just James Taylor, but it was like it was like clearly like we were a wedding, and then like I think like somebody faked cried so we could get out of there.
So everybody cried.
Everybody cried.
So one guy's holding it up.
Yeah.
You're like, come on, god damn.
It's just a great character. There's one guy who for some reason in South Jersey had a Kentucky accent, which I don't know how that happens. And he would like, you know, whenever I walked in, he'd be like, listen, you're a loony bird. He would say that to me. He's like, you crazy. You're a loony bird. This is a guy who, like, right before he got in, like, took an entire hand of fucking Percocet, put it in his mouth so he could be like, you can't get me for this. This is coming in with me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He'll be high for 3 days. The first 3 days.
And then I did this on my Comedy Central half hour, but I talked about doing equine therapy there, and it was like,
what is that?
That's like you work with a horse to like get over
it is.
shit.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
You guys have horses at rehab?
Yeah, they had a horse at a rehab. And we had to get the horse to move without touching it. So it was very bizarre. Like we had to use like objects to like tempt it, but not even a carrot. It wasn't like a food. So it made no sense whatsoever. And the two horse trainers, I think it was a lesbian couple, and they were like saying passive aggressive shit to us. Like, it's like, oh, really great job, guys. Like, this was the weirdest. Like, they were clearly like hated all of us. And then there was one guy who was just kind of like this hippie dude. And I'm not going to say anybody's name, but he was like in the beginning of it. And by the way, I never talk about an AA meeting because you're not supposed to. But rehab, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I don't know why. That's a loophole for me.
A lot of people talk about rehab.
Loophole. I don't talk about the meetings, but I do talk about like rehab loopholes because it's like it's almost not real. And then I remember he was like, "Come on, baby, come on," he was like, "Come on, horse, come on." And then like 10 minutes later, this hippie's screaming, "Why don't you fucking move for me? Move!" And he was the same guy who flipped out because it was Easter and we had an Easter egg hunt for
the ones you painted. You all
there's chocolates in them, and it was for all the people's kids were coming to visit him, which is the worst Easter ever. And so they had an Easter egg hunt, but then one of the younger, like 19-year-old heroin addicts just stole all the candy and ate it. So the kids had nothing to get. And then the hippies started yelling at him, "You fucking ruined Easter for them! Fuck you!"
There's honeydew in the kitchen, goddammit.
He's like, "You ruined Easter, and I'll fuck you. Everyone's saying fuck you back to each other.
Little kids are crying with Easter.
And then they would fuck up. They would have every week they would have like one rehab movie that was like about recovery, and then one like fun movie that we were allowed to watch, like Dark Knight or some shit like that. And I remember
what were the rehab movies?
Well, it was like some of them were good. It was like Clean and Sober. One of them was like the Bill W. story with James Woods before he went crazy. James Woods and Bill W. But the other one was like they decided to play Leaving Las Vegas.
Oof.
Which is not really a great
tough one. Yeah, man.
Like, because I watched it's more triggering, especially if you're going through it. You're like, the guy's total shit, but he's also like pouring like vodka all over a hot Elizabeth shoe and like hooking up with her in a pool. You're like, this doesn't look too bad. So that I think they played that and they realized like we made a mistake on that one.
It's going to be Grease next year.
Yeah, it's going to be Grease next year. Or just like show like a video of fucking drunk driving accidents or something like that, Like one of the most chilling like little shorts ever, and it's on Netflix, and Werner Herzog just like did like a, because he's always upbeat, but he did like a short video of like people who explaining the death of their loved ones who got killed by texting while driving.
Oh.
And I'm like, you could have just played that for alcoholism and it would have been, fine. But it's a lot of fun. That's the problem with all that. It works,
That's what everybody says. It was a good time. And they miss
when I worked at Yellowstone National
it.
Park, which I don't know if I talked about on the
You worked at Yellowstone?
Yeah, I think I may have talked about it on the Crab Feast. I'm not sure, but like there was this guy who would always make fun of. He would talk to the kids, like the younger kids, like 18 or 19-year-old Utah kids, and he was a former voiceover guy who now was a bartender and Yellowstone National Park. He was like a fucking Will Ferrell character, and he said he's like. I'll tell you what, kids, I've seen cocaine. I've seen it ruin marriages. I've seen it ruin families. I've seen it ruin lives, but it's a pretty good time. That was like, he's still like, and these kids are like, oh, maybe I'll try it then.
I currently don't have any of those things. Oh, man. All right, so you're in for 30 days.
Yeah,
right?
28 days. To be exact.
28 days. Now, do you have to get out at 28 days, or can you stay longer if you want to?
You can stay. I mean, and if you have all the money in the world, obviously like a 6-month program. Because one thing was cool is that, they do, like they only give you kind of rehab books to read, but a lot of them are good. Like I read Chris Herron's book. You know him? He was the Boston Celtic who was like addicted to heroin. Was like buying fucking heroin before his like games. Crazy story. I
didn't know that.
They have a 30 for 30 on him too, which is awesome.
I'm gonna watch that.
And I think he's still sober. I'm not sure, but I read that. I read like some Eckhart Tolle and then some like this Buddhist 12-step work. This guy was a Buddhist, but he was still drunk and he was like trying to figure that out. And then like Beautiful Boy. Thank God I didn't. I have done Beth, but thank God I didn't make that a thing. So that was cool. So you would read like, it's amazing when you don't have TV how much you can get done, Like it just took me now. It took me like I started a book like last November and then I put it down and it took me like 3 months like to finally finish it. And then like, but if you're like away somewhere, you can go through like, like a book every 2 days.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
So what happens when you get out? You get out.
I live with my parents. I started slowly doing road gigs again. I bombed pretty bad at a lot of places. I really ate it at Foxwoods. I remember because it was like me, Jared Freed, Anthony DeVito, and Adam Conover, and I forget who it was. And they all killed. And I went up and I just fucking tanked.
Is that your first set out of rehab?
No, I did another college gig that I also tanked. So I was like, and I did the college gig because it was money. But I think I upset some guy in a Cookie Monster t-shirt. And then like my college agent fired me like a couple months later. So it was what it was. And and then I slowly kind of got back into comedy in New York, and I mean, it finally ended up working out. But rehab is so crazy because sometimes they put you there and it's like the person shouldn't be there. They should be in a mental institution. And I guess the police and the hospital, like, so we had like one guy, this guy's huge, he looks like fucking James Gandolfini, and he was like rimming with this other guy, and we just hear he's literally bashing his head through the fucking wall, just screaming at like all these. This is like we're all trying to sleep.
Wait, bashing his own head or the roommate's
own head? No, and his roommate's just shivering.
Yeah, I would be.
He's shivering, like watching him, like just destroy. Like, and literally, the guy's he's huge. He's like that. He's like a Tony Soprano type. And the whole time, I mean, it was pretty humiliating.
And are you locked in there at night? Are you buzzed in?
Oh,
rooms?
yeah.
You are. I mean, so this guy's stuck
out.
In there.
It depends. I mean, if you're in there for,
oh my god,
if you're in there for,
King Kong Bundy's in here.
Yeah.
I'd be scared.
Everybody's freaking out. Well, they took him out. Everybody's like a little. Everybody's a little like if you're there for court reasons. There's one guy there who was just a drug dealer, and he was he dealt crack, but he did only smoked weed and casually. So it was a real weird vibe because he'd be like, "Yeah, I don't really have a problem."
The only problems that you all aren't out there buying my product.
All I see is business opportunities in this room.
Wasted sales around this fucking place.
Yeah. And that was.
So it's not just.
It's also funny too to run into somebody like, because I remember I ran into somebody who was like homophobic in rehab, and I'm like, I remember I said something about like with my gay friends, and he goes, "Ugh, gross," and then I was like, Yeah, he's gross, but you're the one who passed out naked in her daughter's fucking birthday cake. Like, I don't, what fucking high horse? You can't ruin a Christmas and also be homophobic. You gotta pick one lane.
Oh my god. Holy shit. So out of that rehab, you clean and sober since that?
No. No, that was the Fox thing was a year and a half later. And then I got sober after that in LA. And then I had about 6 months in LA. And I remember and then I went right out and I got beat up by a father and son.
Wait, what?
Holy shit. I think I was drinking when I did the crab feast because I think that was that weekend where I got beat up by a father and son.
So you left the crab feast and went
that
and got
night. Well, I
beat up?
tried to find coke in Koreatown, I think.
This is your post crab feast episode you're telling me about right now?
Yeah.
All right.
Or
so
that weekend.
why Coke in Koreatown? Is that
I
just where
literally
you were?
Googled where's the best coke. And I couldn't buy cocaine.
That's on Google.
Yeah, I couldn't buy it from. I tried to buy it from what's the burlesque place in Hollywood?
Oh, the old school place.
The old school place that's on Hollywood Boulevard that I used to live right.
Courtney Love used to dance there.
Yeah.
Jumbo's Clown Room.
I tried to buy there. I remember the bouncer. I kept asking him, and he didn't know. And he had a really nice body, so I kept complimenting his body in hopes that would like, man, you work out. You look great. He goes, thanks, man.
Like, all right, I got a kilo.
I'm gonna
in
go
the
try. I'll
trunk.
try. So he kept trying because I kept I kept complimenting his pythons. And then I remember I was like downtown and Koreatown, and these two cholos came up to me, and they and I'm talking fucking long white shorts, fucking and long white shirts and fucking jean shorts, and they were not fucking around. And I was passed out on the floor, and
Of what? Where?
in front of the 7-Eleven, and.
That's called a sidewalk,
Yeah,
bro.
it's because it's a sidewalk. You're right. That's a sidewalk.
Floor would have been inside the 7-Eleven.
Sidewalk. And then and then there was somebody. A couple tried to help me, and I remember the two dudes. The other guys were like, "Why don't you give us money?" And then this couple
say this
they
to
didn't
you?
help me. But he goes, because he needs it. You guys don't need it. And they were from the street, and I was like, I'm gonna get fucked up from this. They left, but then they started cursing at me and flipping me off. So this is how bad it was. I couldn't get up, so I just lifted my arms up to give them a double finger from them. So they came in, they started stomping me, and I heard one of them said, "I'll help you, Dad." So they started kicking me. And I swear to God, I brought a family together. That's what I said on stage. And I swear to God, this is the craziest thing, and this is all fucking true, is that I had eaten at a Korean barbecue right before that because I couldn't find Coke, and I was literally trying to find Coke.
Best Coke and best barbecue.
I was trying to buy Coke. I was literally trying to find Coke by sticking my thumb out and waving cars down and being like, "Can you have Coke?" And one guy gave me an orange because he thought I was homeless. So I was like, I'm at this barbecue place, and I guess I tipped really well. Because then I was getting beat up on the street, and then out of nowhere my fucking Korean barbecue waiter,
it's like a fucking movie.
I swear to God, yeah, Harold and Kumar go to detox, and they fucking and he fucking fights them off for me and gets me up.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then I remember, then the cops came.
He's like, I wasn't here for you. I was here for some scratch-offs.
They handcuffed me. They left, and the cop, LAPD, was a really nice guy. He's like, I'm like, I want to press charges, and he goes, dude, you're fucking publicly intoxicated. We're going to have to arrest you then. And he's like, I can just let you go. And I was like, okay. And then I got in the cab and I started bawling hysterically.
Just crying.
And then the cab driver goes, get a hold of yourself. And then
Which is the name of my album, by the way, available on RyanSickler.com.
Then I got home.
He's fucking clowning you back there. You're just been through hell.
So then I went he was disgusted. He was disgusted. He was an older Mexican man who had a family,
pussy.
And he was like, oh, get a hold of yourself. He was right. I should have gotten a hold of myself. And then I got home, and then my friend Andy Haynes is a comic who I still owe everything to. We poured all my liquor out. And then I was sober for 2.5 years, and then I ended
You're
up.
telling me the night that cabbie told you to get a hold of yourself, you went another 2.5 clean?
I spent the next day drinking whiskey and watching Bloodline.
All right.
And then my manager at the time came over with all my mail, which it never was very bizarre. And like it was he was trying to help too. And then I remember I went to that club Sanford and Sons that weekend. I had one of the worst weekends of my life. And then after that, I had 2.5 years.
Stanford and Son. Where's that?
Stanford
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Yeah. The one where like they fuck everybody on money and shit.
I've never been there. Was that right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it did. I mean, UTA reimbursed me. Yeah, I mean, not to speak ill of the dead, but yeah. They did. I mean, that was just blatantly I did. They did. I'm not trying to like, because I think that guy has passed on since then. But yeah, I did not get the check but that's like everybody. Nobody got the check there. It's kind of like a fun story now. It's like a Johnny Appleseed. How'd you get fucked over? How'd you get fucked over?
Yeah.
So then, I went 2.5 years, and I was having panic attacks. I got prescribed Klonopin, and from the Klonopin, I picked up again, and that was crazy. And then I've been sober since then. I ended up in the ER from that.
From what? The Klonopin?
Well, I mean, the person I was partying with had told me, no, not the Klonopin. I had Klonopin for like 3 days.
Well, I'm asking
and
because
then I
here's
Klonopin,
why.
and then I had a Bud Light after a comic book show that Friday night, and then that lead to me wanting to get blow. And then after that, I ended up partying with someone, and she told me, "Oh yeah, it's all blow," and it ended up being
meth.
It ended up being meth, and then I ended up in the ER the next day.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
So I'm asking because and I'm ignorant to a lot of these pills, but isn't Klonopin one of those ones if you mix with alcohol, like it can kill you in your sleep, or it's like a.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
I kind of.
That's why I asked. So wait,
Yes.
you do. How much meth do you do?
I don't know. I did it all night. I just started snorting all night.
All night.
Snorted all night with this girl.
And then the next day, you're in the ER from what? What happens to you?
Heart palpitations. I was like nervous. I was having a heart attack, so I called an ambulance, and then they took me in. They said just a bunch of methamphetamines in my system, and and they kind of look at you like you're taking a bet up for somebody else, which they're right. Yeah. So that was fucking crazy. But to those the Glendale EMTs, thank you for getting me out of that, because that would have been rough.
And now you've been sober since then?
Yeah, now I've been sober since then. I'm engaged.
Are you? Well, congratulations, dude.
Crazy. Now I'm like,
How long has it been?
we got engaged in October.
I mean, clean and sober.
About 2 years now.
2 years, all right.
Yeah.
What's your longest?
2.5.
2.5.
So we'll see. No, I'm just joking. I'm not gonna come. Yeah, I'll have a new. Yeah, we'll do another episode. That'd be me Skyping in from prison.
Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. I know. I people come on and talk about addiction all the time, and they've literally said I can't have a drink. Like I can drink a half a beer and walk away from it.
Oh, wow.
And they'll say like I can't have one because I'll have 20, and then they're like that's not an exaggeration. Like I will.
No,
drink
I always said
until
if I could stop at 8, then I would be fine.
8.
Yeah.
What drugs haven't you done?
Never done heroin. I mean, I did oxy, but I never did heroin.
Acid?
Yeah, I done acid, but I don't remember it because I was too drunk. The one drug I don't regret really taking is mushrooms. That was
They
the
just
one
legalized it in
It's
Denver.
legalized in Denver.
That's
I
crazy,
know.
yeah.
Everybody's talking about it on Instagram. But that and I had mostly bad trips. I did it 8 times, and almost every trip either did nothing or was bad. But I had one trip that was like fucking crazy, and still like one of the moments in my life that I'm like, oh well, that was an important moment.
What happened?
You just feel like interconnected to everything. It's like, like Spinoza, he talks about the idea of God as a whole. We're all connected. We're all part of God. And you do have that feeling when you're on mushrooms. I mean, that's a legit thing. But if you have mental disorders, especially if you like struggle with I have bipolar, so I'm on medication for that. But if you struggle with like schizophrenia or just schizophrenia in your family or anything else, like don't fucking go near it. Like that's how or LSD. That's what happened with Kurt Vonnegut's son. He got all fucked up that way. So.
Really?
Yeah, Mark Vonnegut. He had this. He gave Kurt like his best quote, which was like, "We got to get each other through this, whatever it is." But yeah, I think he has a whole book about it. I read the book and I forget what it's called now, but I'll Google it just to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass. It was what's it called? God, it was.
Do you have any of that in your
Mark
family?
Vonnegut.
Do you have any
depression?
schizophrenia or any?
Oh
of that?
no, I'm very like I don't have that. Mark Vonnegut, yeah. What's his books? His book was that I saw, The Eden Express. That was it. But he like went to a commune and was like, yeah, I'll just do acid like everybody else, and then
that was it.
That was it, man. Now he's doing great now, but
So you mentioned a retreat. Now, this retreat, is this part of therapy or rehab?
That was just like every time I'm like done with a writing job and want to quit show business, I do the most show business thing in the world, which is I go on a retreat from show business, and you literally get to the retreat and you see fucking bags that say William Morris and CAA.
No.
Everyone has the same fucking idea that I have. It's the most LA fucking idea ever. But yeah, I went to one.
So what is it? What do you do? I've never been to one of these.
Well, like you are one of them was just a silent house, and it was a guy. We would meditate with him at the end of the night, and he was like really obsessed with like us using his new pool. That's all I really remember from it. He's like, I got this great pool. If you guys want to, like, I was like, what are you?
But wait, are you allowed to talk?
To him, well, it's like like to him you are, but you're not really supposed to talk to anybody else. But it was beautiful. It was up in Maryville, California. That's Maryville, New York. I'm thinking Maryville, New York, but I forget. It's all the way up in California. Beautiful view. I remember the only thing that was I would go on these hikes, but the only problem is there would be like signs for rattlesnakes. Mm-hmm. So you're always like you're trying to be meditating, and then like you're like, I'm trying to like become at peace with everything. Am I gonna fucking die up here while I'm reaching nirvana? But it was cool, man. I got a lot of reading done. You just like, and I remember I read this book while I was there. 10% Happier. Dan Harris wrote it. He's the guy. He's a great dude. I did his podcast. He's the Good Morning America guy, and he had that kind of had like a mini panic attack on air, and then he talked about finding meditation. And so I actually, like I said, I did his podcast with a really cool guy. Also very much more chill than me. He's just got this like kind of chill vibe about him. But I ended up, he talked about this place, Spirit Rock, with Jack Kornfield, and he's one of the guys who kind of brought like Buddhist meditation to one of the people who brought it in the 70s to the U.S., him and like Sharon Salzberg and all these people that were kind of like part of this whole crew. So I went to that retreat for like 6 days, but I left after 4 because I had to get back for a writing job. And that you're completely silent. You wake up at 5:30 in the morning to meditate, and you're completely silent until 9 o'clock that night.
And then what? Bed.
That's it.
And you didn't speak for 3 days?
You don't speak. Well, the third day, and me and my roommate, we looked at each other like, hey, you want to talk for a little bit? And he's like, yeah. and we did, which I kind of regret that I did that. But it's hard, too, because they have a tipping system at the end. And I was talking about the end of it. I was like, how much do I tip? And they're like, whatever you feel like. And I'm like, come on, is it like a waiter thing? Is it 20%? Yeah, right. So I ended up doing like 20%, But that's this kind of weird thing where you're reaching enlightenment, and then you're like, you also don't want them to know that you're cheap. So you're like, maybe I really haven't reached enlightenment yet. Yeah, but it's cool. I kind of wanted to just see if I could do it, and I half-assed it, I guess. But I think it's also like I was saying before when we talked, there is something that is truly alcoholic and addictive about being like a week. I'll just clear myself in a weekend, like that'll be it.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, all I have to do is let me just take this pill. I'll take the Soma and then I'm fucking straight, but it's not. It's like you have to, I haven't been meditating lately, and it definitely shows, you have to do it every day. And I've done the TM thing in LA, which everybody does. And, what's that Woody Allen movie where he's always trying to find the new religion? The whole thing is that I forget, is that Hannah and her sisters or something? But like it's like I think especially out here in the West Coast, because everybody's coming here for some. So if you're not like if you're not coming here, you're coming here to become something different. You know what I mean? And I think that's why there's so many artists, musicians, spiritual leaders, and frauds and serial killers that all end up on the West Coast because they're trying to search for something that's this intangible thing for good and bad reasons.
I don't argue. I can't argue that at all.
Yeah. I mean, we're all kind of in it, And it's funny when you get out there, I don't know about you, but then you start looking at property in like Missoula or some shit, and you're like, God damn, I could live like a fucking king if I lived 2 states away from here.
Dude, I have a daughter now. It's all I keep thinking. Like Scottsdale, I could fucking, for what I pay in rent, I could have a 5-bedroom house with a fucking pool built in 2019.
And Scottsdale's not a cheap town.
No.
It's still not cheap, but it's still better than, I mean, New York and San Fran, forget about it. LA, at least like.
Well, LA's getting like that now with Silicon Beach. All these people are raising rents up everywhere because they can afford it, Right. They're all coming down from Silicon Valley.
It's going to be boxed in, man.
Area. Yeah. I want to hear this story here about dressing up.
Yeah. This was like, actually, this was more embarrassing than all the other ones. And I don't know why it's more embarrassing, but because I was always picked on in middle school, and I was like I got a mushroom cut, and because I thought that was cool, but then I wanted a peace sign in the back of my head. But I told the guy, like, no, that's how you do a peace sign. And I told him Mercedes symbols. They called me Mr. Mercedes, man. Mr. Mercedes became like a Stephen King book later on, where he ended up like driving his fucking car into a bunch of people, which is maybe where I was heading if I didn't find comedy. I dressed up as... I remember the first day of 6th grade, they were talking about Halloween costumes, and the teacher, this guy, a 6th grade teacher, this guy named Mr. Mulcahy, who I think he's like the principal there now. He was like talking about... I'm like one of the what was really cool. One of the teachers, one of the kids went as me one year, and he dressed up as me, and that was like kind of funny. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's so funny." So I thought like that it would be cool if I did the same thing, and I dressed up as him. But it was just so fucking weird. You know what I mean? It was like the second guy it's like showing up with like the Borat impression 5 years later.
Yeah. So doing Austin Powers now.
And I'm like, huh? And I looked at him, I'm like, come on. And he's like, cool. And I was just so fucking embarrassed. And I stopped doing Halloween after that. I love Halloween.
I ruined Halloween for you.
I love Halloween. I love watching horror movies. I love eating like shit. I love like going to a fucking pumpkin patch and drinking cider and seeing autumnal leaves, but I won't dress up anymore because of that shit.
I stopped doing Halloween.
Dress up after that. I was done.
Oh my God. What do you remember? I don't know how old you are. I'm older than you, but we used to have and we wouldn't get it was either you make a fucking costume, or if you got one, it was from Kmart, and I would get Kiss. I would get Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
And it was just a plastic mask with like this like yarn that would catch on fire and a little elastic headband. And then the suit was this fucking plastic suit. And I just wore that shit for, I want to say 2 or 3 Halloweens. And then after that, it was just go to Goodwill and make some shit.
Make some stuff. But my mom used to make great shit. Like my mom she made me the Wolfman one year. It was awesome. She made me like a 2-headed like ghoul. I guess that's what it would be, or some ghost thing, and that was cool. So she was really good at making some of those costumes, and a lot of those costumes. And I think I dressed up a little bit in high school here and there, but after a while, it's just like, it's not for... It's just weird, right? You can't be an adult dressing.
No, you can't dress.
I mean, unless it's like you're a hot girl and you want to like look like I guess like hot one night. It's just a very bizarre. It's also like now in the days of mass shooters, you don't want to show up to someplace dressed as Michael Myers. You're like, what the fuck is this guy's? What's gonna happen?
You said you had some people here very close to you recently.
Oh yeah, that was a rough.
Are you comfortable talking about?
Yes, I am. Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, can we?
Can we stop?
So when you got here, you mentioned to us, we were talking, that you ruined a dream job.
Is
this recent?
This is recent. This was in August. I mentioned I have a wrestling podcast, Total Effing Marks. I love pro wrestling. I love it. I mean, to give you an idea, I'm reading Goldust's autobiography right there. That's how much I love wrestling. So I get a call from this one guy, and I think he works in WWE now. And he's like, hey, do you want to do commentary for a professional wrestling event? I was like, absolutely. I've wanted to do that my whole fucking life. And it was Joey Janela's Lost in New York. It's a big like indie show in New York. It's not like it's like not WWE, but it's not like a VFW hall either. It's a big show. And they're going to let me comment for one match. They're like, well, Ron Funches did it last year. We'd love to have you do it this year. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, Ron's way more fucking, has way more, like he's actually famous, like that's cool that I'm getting to do this. And I get there and I'm backstage. And even before the show starts, first off, I'm getting ahead of myself. I bought an outfit to wear, like, because I wanted to be a heel color commentator,
like,
you know?
Yeah, Bobby
and
the
then,
Brain.
Yeah, like Paul Heyman, Bobby the Brain. I get this leather jacket, and it's on my Instagram, and then I get like a cab hat and then aviator sunglasses, and I just look like an Uber driver, or like like afterwards, or like some like Russian escorts pimp. You know, it was not at all like flamboyant or. But I get there and it's pretty cool, and I'm backstage, and all the wrestlers were working out their matches, and I'm watching it, and that was fucking cool as shit, right? And it starts out, and and it shows you how like much wrestling has changed. 'Cause, you know, in the 80s, it was just everybody was like doing coke and like, you know, like chasing fucking flight attendants down the aisle, and like, you know, like getting into car wrecks, and like some people getting stabbed. You know, it was like it was fucking insane. It was you know, like it was a goddamn zoo. You know, and I'm like, I'm backstage, and just Joey Janela comes up, and he goes, who's a great guy, and he's a really good wrestler, but he goes, you guys ready to fuck some shit up? And we're like, yeah. He goes, you guys ready to tear the house down? They're like, yeah. And he goes, okay, before we get out there, nothing transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic. Now let's get there.
And fuck some shit
Put some
up.
people to sleep with their consent. So. Whatever. I'm slated to do commentary for this one match.
All right, so I have some questions. Do you know how this match is going to end?
No.
So you're improvising the whole time.
I'm improvising the whole
you're
thing.
gonna
I had
watch
one
this.
good line, and I forget. It was something about global warming. But it was
you
pretty
knew
funny.
you didn't know it was going to end. So
I
all
knew the
surprise
wrestlers
to
that I
you.
was commenting, and then I was like Wikipediaing them, and then like some of the stuff you Wikipedia, you're like, you found out like one thing, you're like.
Allergic to dust mites.
Well, no, man. You're like, this guy's girlfriend went missing. It was like shit like that. You're like, I better not bring that up. So like I'm doing, I'm making a list of shit not to bring up.
Yeah.
You know, so like. So I'm with this other guy, and half the promotion was run by juggalos, like, because they're all into wrestling.
Okay.
There's Juggalo Championship Wrestling. This wasn't part of it. There's
I hear
a lot
about
of
this big festival
There's a
they
lot
do
of
with
Juggalo.
comics and musicians.
I wanted to do it. I think I was rejected this year. Now it's like I used to like be excited I got into Montreal. Now I'm getting rejected from gathering the Juggalos. It's been
That's it, the gathering
really
of the
down slow. So it was funny. I've been to Montreal 3 times and I can't get in a gathering of the Juggalos. That's how much my star is fucking dimmed in this business. Anyway, so I'm like, all right, I know this stuff to say, and I know how to be respectful, all this other stuff. But the one thing they told me not to blow is because they had some wrestlers scheduled and he bailed. So they replaced him with Sabu, who's a big wrestler, and it was supposed to be a huge secret. And right before I went on stage, Sandman did a segment where he drank a beer and beat somebody out with a cane. And his whole gimmick, he kind of did Stone Cold before Stone Cold. I mean, Stone Cold's like way better, but like, I think even Sandman would admit that. But like, he drinks, smokes cigarettes, he beats himself. And his whole thing is like, he's like, I'm a drunk, I'm doing all this shit, right? And then, so I start doing the match, and I said, hey, and that had just happened, right? So I goes, hey, and if any of you guys want a beer, you go to the bar and go get a beer with Sandman. And then I get off, and this Juggalo dude goes, you fucked it up. And I'm like, what? He goes, you let it out. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you just said Sabu's over there. And I had said Sabu instead of Sandman. And it was the big surprise of the night. And everybody saw me, you fucked it up. Joey Janela was like, did you fuck it up? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. It's cool, man. It's fine. He was actually pretty cool, but everybody else was like giving me dirty looks. And I'm afraid I'm going to get my ass kicked by these guys. So I literally like grab my bags and leave out of the side of the building and hail a cab and leave without my pay. Because I'm nervous they're all going to beat me. Like, run out of town. Like the monorail salesman in the fucking Simpsons. Like, burn a Brit. And then I remember I did the Bruce Pritchard roast, and I'm doing the Ric Flair roast. It's actually will probably be on Fight Network by the time this is on. And I remember I was like, I have to kill this Bruce Pritchard roast because that was such a fucking embarrassment. You know, and I had done stuff for the Ringer with wrestling, but my first actual entry into the wrestling community was so horrendous. I need to do something. And, you know, that went well. But it was,
man.
But thank God that I think that the reason that went so well is the other thing went so terribly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people understand. Like, people are like, oh, you never burn bridges in this business. No, that was a situation. I'm never going to be asked back to do commentary. I remember I did get asked at WrestleMania.
I don't believe that though. Not for something like that.
Well,
it depends on what you do and where you go.
I did get asked to do commentary for like a lower, like they were really nice guys, and then but I was laughing about it because it was like some like wrestling event in like Ridgewood, New Jersey or some shit, and it was like called Pizza Party Wrestling, and they wanted me to do commentary. And I asked, for like little money, but I really just wanted to, because I wanted to prove myself again. I was like, hey, pay me like a fucking $100 and pay my train fare to Ridgefield. And then and then it was like 3 weeks before the event. It was the most professional letter I've gotten out. It goes, we're sorry, but Pizza Party Wrestling will not be have the budget we had this year. And it was like very professional. I was like, no worries, man, don't worry. But it was just so funny.
We can pay you in pizza.
I've gotten like literally, I have gotten less professional rejections and emails and ghosts from multimillionaires. But the guy who's running Pizza Party Wrestling, classiest motherfucker in the world. That's her show business.
That's sure.
You own a home in Malibu, they won't get back to you. But you're living in your mom's basement, they're gonna make things right.
That's fucking great. I'm sorry to hear you ruined the dream job. Yeah, but I don't believe it. You'll be back. They'll be telling that story one day.
I don't know. Sometimes, sometimes they're like, you'll be back, and it usually means like every once in a while. I think that's the problem with America is that like sometimes they're like, no, man, keep trying, keep getting up. And I was like, some people shouldn't. Some people should just give up and like go to trade school, like, and learn a skill. Like not everyone's gonna fucking win an Oscar. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's my whole problem with The Secret. Because if everyone believed in The Secret, it would have no result. The whole point of The Secret is you being optimistic while everyone around you is negative and envisioning stuff. But if everyone did that, then there would still be the same fucking results. There would still be winners and losers.
That's the secret about the secret.
That's the secret about the secret. So just be happy. Like. You get a fucking Roth IRA. Jesus Christ.
Do you want to talk about the last year?
Oh, well, yeah, the last year was we said you're like, oh, you can talk about whatever. It was rough this year. I guess I had a couple of friends of mine.
How old are you, first of all?
I'm 35.
Okay.
And I had a couple friends of mine pass this year. One of them is a hilarious comic, which everyone knew was Kevin Burnett, and that was brutal. And it was just the funniest, nicest guy in the fucking world. And I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet him.
I only met him a couple times.
Yeah,
I didn't know him, though, but I could tell by the outpouring of love.
The greatest guy ever. Greatest guy ever. And I remember the day, it was like 2 days after he had passed, and I was out with, Benji, the stand-up comic Benji.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out to Hillstone in New York City to eat. We always have like these like fat ass dinners, and I remember like I was so depressed I ordered, it was before I was going to do this Bell House show in at the Knitting Factory. The Bell House show that night, like the Lucas brothers put together this big show. So I get to the restaurant, I'm with my friend Benji, and I'm not drinking, so I'm like, I'm going to eat to like get over my shit, and I order a bowl of New England clam chowder. So it was Hawaiian ribeye steak with a stuffed baked potato, and I think like spinach artichoke steak, I'm not sure, and then an ice cream sundae at the very end of it. Like, and this was like 11:30 a.m. Like an 11:30 a.m. lunch, and the waitress just gave me a look like, "What are you? Oh, are you sure?" Like, and she's like, "I'm actively." She's questioning the money she's making. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I go, "My friend died," and I just said it, and then she goes, what? And I go, you want to see? And I took out his obituary from Variety or Hollywood Reporter. She goes, no, I don't need to see. Yeah. And then, like, I guess she felt bad, so she brought out the ice cream sundae at the end with a candle sticking out. And I'm like, it's not my birthday. If I make a wish, does he get to come back? Like, it was brutal. And then we went to Florida. We went to Florida for the wedding, for the funeral. It was beautiful, and I was really glad I got a chance to go there and see all his friends and be with people. And there was one guy though, like, because their birds were chirping, his nickname was like Bird Luger, and like all these birds are chirping. He goes, see that? That's a sign. I'm like, yeah, or it's just fucking birds. It's like just birds. We're outside and they're birds, But yeah, but it was, that was tough. And then I had a friend of mine actually from that rehab who passed away, I think last July, and that sucked.
What, he or she?
He.
What did he pass away from?
He had lymphoma. So he passed away, but he was, in his 50s. So that was kind of crazy. And then like 6 months before that, or 8 months, or maybe even a year, could have been that long. But my therapist died, and it's the closest I've been to a therapist. And I remember he's like, "You'll be fine." And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, "Well, you weren't." You know. So it was a lot of death this year.
I
Crazy,
say
man.
it
Crazy
happens
shit.
like that. I feel like, at least in my world, it seems like like death comes in and does this sweep around you, and then it disappears for a while, and then it comes back in a few more people, and then sooner or later you're caught up in that motherfucking broom.
Oh,
hopefully
man.
later.
I'm
Hopefully
getting
later.
Yeah, dude, I'm getting I'm ready for it.
You're ready for it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've had a good life, you know? Like if I was
You're 36, you
I'm
said
35. But it's like
try to give you another year. You don't want it.
I've known love. You know, I've been able to have fun on stage. You know, I mean, sometimes you're like, I think I'll be all right. You know, like if
No. I'm 46. I didn't have a kid till I was 41.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. You still have 6 more years to get to that, and then a whole new world starts.
I don't know if we're gonna do that though.
It's okay if you don't. I'm just saying, in 6 years, a whole new beginning began.
I guess I'm kind of looking forward to getting old though. It's like you see like these guys.
It doesn't sound like it. You're ready to wrap it up at 35.
But I mean, like, I don't care. Like you watch. Like, have you ever seen Mel Gibson in real life? Like I saw him on I saw him like on a studio lot once, and he's like on like HGH, and his face is like and he's got like this hot young wife, and you're like this doesn't seem natural.
No,
like I feel like eventually you're just supposed to kind of fall apart.
You are, yeah. I feel like people also, all these plastic surgery nightmares you see in their like late ages, that if they just would have aged naturally, they would look better now than they.
It depends now, though. But the thing with
there
plastic surgeries,
plastic
surgery, what they realize, and I think it's like a lot of these girls that look good now with plastic surgery, is they just do like a little bit at a time. So you don't notice it as it goes along.
Just maintenance all the way.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you see them at 55 and you're like, wait, how do you still look like that? And it's like, well, they've been just doing maintenance. It's not like, back in the Mickey Rourke days where it's like you look like a fucking goldfish afterwards,
Dude, we are there. I just want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
And
this is super fun.
I appreciate it, man. And I'm glad you hit me up. And thank you for being open and honest. I know that's
of
not easy
course,
to talk
absolutely.
about.
And what they don't know is that in the middle of this podcast, I ran out of the room to take a shit. So I was real professional, guys. I was real professional.
That is a true story. Will you one more time, please?
My album No Real Winners Here is on All Things Comedy. I just did the Ric Flair roasts, so that should be on the Fight Network at this point. Show I wrote for Alternatino is going to be out on Comedy Central, and then I have dates. I think this month I'll be in San Fran, and then I have other stuff going on. And Total F and Marks is my wrestling podcast. I don't know if I said that or not. DanceHateYourMain.net. You'll get all the stuff.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you
for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me.
You're
man.
awesome.
Thank you, man.
I am Ryan Sickler, RyanSickler.com. Ryan Sickler on all social media. We'll talk to you all next week.